Hello girls and squirrels, happy Friday and welcome back to my channel. So I am running around like a mad woman today. I have so much stuff to do. So many things are happening today. I will give you guys a little life update. Maybe next week we'll get into what's going on in my life, but that's not what today's video is about. Today I thought I would do a little voiceover video for you guys. You guys have been requesting a how I list on Poshmark video, so I'm going to take you through what I go through to list an item on Poshmark. I'm going to take you through photos, title, description, measurements, all that jazz. It's gonna be great. Let's get to it. So the first thing I do is take my modeling photos. This photo is going to be my cover shot. This is also the only photo that I edit. I use a self-timer app where it will take like 10 to 15 shots. You can actually pick how many photos you would like it to take at a time. You can choose the seconds in between each photo, like the second intervals. So you can do 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, however long you need in between. You can also choose if you want it to count down or if you want it to be a shutter sound so that you know when it's about to take the photo. I will leave that linked down in the description below. I believe it's called Photo Timer. After that, I will take all of my photos that I need to take on the hanger. So these photos consist of a photo of the front, a photo of the back. I take pictures of the brand tag, the size tag, and the care labels if there is one. This is also where I would take pictures of any flaws that need to be disclosed in the listing. So after I've taken all of the pictures that I need to take for the item on the hanger, I will then go ahead and measure it while it's still on the hanger. It's just, I find it easier to measure the item while it's still on the hanger. Now for pants, I will measure the waist laying flat on a table or my couch, whatever flat surface I can get my hands on. That is where I will do that. But it's a lot easier to do things like the inseam and the length while it's hanging on a hanger. Now, one thing that I have started doing is going ahead and taking my hanger photos in the Poshmark app so that I can go ahead and make a draft for that specific item. And that way I can go ahead and type the measurements right into the listing in the description box without having to write it on a piece of paper and then go back and make the listing and put the measurements in. So this way it's already in the app. I'm not wasting paper. I'm not having to take the extra step. It's already done. So next I will go in and edit my cover shot. I go through my photo album and I will favorite the ones that I like the best, and then I go over to the Visco app. I have a preset that I kind of use as a guideline. Some photos need more saturation. You know, I have to play around with the brightness of it just so it's a cohesive look throughout my closet on Poshmark. So once that's done, I just pull up the Poshmark app. I already have my drafts done for the hanging photos, so those are already done. So all I have to do is import another photo, my cover photo, make it the cover shot, and then I go into writing my title and my description. Since I sell vintage, the brand is usually irrelevant for the most part, so I like to start off my title with the word vintage. Now, if you're not selling vintage items, you're selling brand name items, I would suggest putting the brand name first. But for me, I will put vintage, and then if I know the decade or around the decade, I will put, like vintage 1980s. And then I will go on to describe the item and as many small keywords as I can in that description, but I want to make it make sense. I don't just want to put a bunch of random keywords in the title. I want it to actually make sense. Moving on to the description. Now, this is where you can put all the keywords you want to put to boost your item in search. So on Poshmark, not only does the title show up in search, but the words that you put in the description show up in search as well. So use that to your advantage. So I have a pretty good rhythm when it comes to my descriptions. All of my descriptions are pretty much the same in the sense that they have the same information. So I will just describe the item a little more in depth if I wasn't able to describe it enough in the title. I will go into more depth about the color. I will talk about maybe the material. If something's like 100% silk, I will note that. I will note the condition, and with the condition, just be honest. If there are flaws, disclose them, especially if you're selling vintage. Vintage is, these are older items. These are items that have, been around for 20 plus years. So there may be some sort of flaw or stain, and that's okay. Just disclose it in the listing. For example, this item has a small stain on the right shoulder, but not super noticeable when wearing, or it may come out. Whatever it is, just be honest about the condition of the item. Another suggestion I have for conveying what size a vintage piece is to try your items on if you can, or compare the measurements from a modern piece. So that way you can put in the listing, that the tag says size 12, but it fits more like a modern day size medium. And then when you go to the sizing portion of the listing, go ahead and put medium. Don't put size 12, because if somebody is, has their size set to size 12, they're going to click on your listing, and they're going to expect it to be a size 12, but then they're going to read further and realize that it's actually a size medium and it may not fit them. So definitely list it under the size that it fits like, not necessarily what the tag says. Now, with vintage items, sizing can be kind of tricky, so I always include measurements. I know some people don't include measurements, but really it saves you time in the long run. People end up asking for them anyway, so you might as well just get them out of the way. I have a little disclaimer in my descriptions that just says, how I measure my items. They are approximate hand measurements that are done while the item is laying flat, so that way the customer knows how to interpret my measurements. Let's say, for example, I included a waist measurement and I do flat lay measurements. So in order to get the, full waist measurement, you would have to double it. So I just put that in my listing so people know how to use the measurements that I've provided to them. So after all of that is done, I have a little number at the bottom, and this is specifically for me. This is for my inventory system. I'm not going to share what it means because that would give away my secret and then people would know. So whatever you want to put there, you don't have to do this. This just helps me keep up with inventory and information that I need to know on the back end. It's for me, not for the customer. So that's why I put it at the very bottom of the description, kind of spaced away from all the other information. And then right under that, I will write tags with a colon. So this is where I will put any keywords that I wasn't able to fit naturally into the description. I will then put keywords there to help boost the item in search. Now, when it comes to pricing is really up to your own discretion. It does have a place for original price, and I usually just put 0. In my opinion, it's just not necessary unless you're selling brand name stuff where people are, looking at that number to see how much of a discount you're giving them. So after all that's done, obviously I scroll down, I put the brand. I sell vintage items, so it's usually, for me, it's just vintage. So then we move on to the color category. It gives you 2 colors that you can list your item under, and I use that to my advantage. Unless it's one solid color, I will just choose one color, obviously. But if it has more than 2 colors, use that to your advantage and choose 2 colors that it has in it. Usually for this, if it's like a print, I will use the base color as my first color, and then I will just pick another, secondary prominent color in the piece and use that as the secondary color. I do want to note that at the very bottom, Poshmark has started this new thing where you can put an inventory number and a cost of goods number. Now, That's fine and dandy. If you want to use that, go for it. I don't personally use it because I already have a system. Also, their cost of goods, it doesn't allow you to do decimals like dollars and cents. It only allows you to like round up. And, you know, in this business, every cent counts. So I just choose not to use their system and I use my own. That does it for today's video. I hope you guys learned a little something. Let me know your tips and tricks for listing on Poshmark. If you like this video, please be sure and give it a thumbs up on your way out. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and join our family. We would love to have you. I put new videos out every Wednesday and Friday, and I will see you guys on Wednesday. Bye, guys.